Hello and welcome, I'm Samantha Simmons. Services and memorials, including a minute's silence, have been taking place across Israel to mark 2 years since the Hamas attacks of the 7th of October 2023. During the attack, about 1,200 people were killed and 251 others were taken hostage. These were the scenes this morning in Tel Aviv as people gathered to pay their respects and to renew calls for the end to the war in Gaza and a return of all hostages. And in Reem in southern Israel, at the site of the Nova Music Festival, bereaved families and survivors have been gathering to remember victims of the attack. As memorials are held around the world to remember the victims of the Hamas attacks on Israel exactly 2 years ago, indirect talks between Hamas and Israel aimed at ending the war in Gaza are to resume in Egypt within the next hour. On October the 7th, 2023, waves of Hamas fighters led a bloody attack on Israeli army bases, villages and a music festival. Thousands of rockets were launched from Gaza into Israel. Nearly 1,200 people were killed and 250 were taken hostage. It's believed 20 living hostages are still being held in Gaza. Israel responded to the attack by launching a deadly air and ground campaign in Gaza. More than 67,000 people, mostly civilians, have been killed in Gaza since the beginning of the war, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. The UN says most of the 2.3 million population of the Strip have been forced from their homes and that Gaza's buildings and infrastructure have suffered catastrophic damage. Throughout the day, here on BBC News, we will be looking at what happened in Israel on October the 7th and what has happened to hostages since. We'll look too at Israel's response, the impact on those in Gaza and the diplomatic efforts to bring peace. World leaders have been marking the second anniversary of the October the 7th attacks. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said his country will always stand tall and united against those who wish harm and hatred upon Jewish communities. He also called for the release of all hostages, a surge of aid into Gaza and a lasting ceasefire. This was echoed by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who said in his statement, it is time to put an end to the hostilities in Gaza, Israel and the region now. After 2 years of trauma, we must choose hope. Our Middle East correspondent Yulan Nell is at Kibbutz Be'eri near the Israel-Gaza border, where more people were killed there than at any other kibbutz.
Time stands still in Kibbutz Be'eri. Homes ransacked and burnt out are reminders of 102 lives lost here. Exactly 2 years on from the Hamas attacks, the trauma lives on.
Allahu Akbar, and many people over there, outside, outside.
Ahad Ben Ami was snatched away to Gaza in October 2023. After 16 months, he emerged emaciated from a tunnel in the last ceasefire and began campaigning. He thinks the new push for a deal could finally bring back the other hostages.
The first thing that we must do, that you must do as a government, is take them out. Until they won't come back, all the 48, I cannot leave. I'm still a hostage. I'm free man, but not in my soul.
Ahad's neighbour, Tammy Baruch, just wants to bury her son. As well as about 20 living hostages, Hamas is holding many bodies. More people were killed in Be'eri than any other kibbutz, and the grief and pain 2 years on is still very raw. Many of the houses still look like this, and people say they can't rebuild their lives until there's a full ceasefire and all of the hostages are brought back. So far, Israel's bombing hasn't stopped in Gaza, despite an order from President Trump. And the Strip's already devastated. Virtually the entire 2 million population displaced, many in the grips of famine. With tens of thousands killed, every Gazan has lost loved ones. With a concrete block for a gravestone, Enam al-Wahidi prays for her dead son. Jihad died from internal bleeding after an Israeli airstrike last year. Recently, Enam and her children were forced to flee from advancing Israeli forces in Gaza City. The war has seemed endless.
We expect that it will be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but 2 years, it's very long time. Every second we look at the news, what happened, and I'm afraid that this ceasefire is not completed and the war come back to us.
As talks resume, the stakes couldn't be higher. Israel is internally split and internationally isolated. And Gaza is a hellscape where little of the past remains. But there's now fragile hope that this 2-year anniversary might mark the beginning of the end. Yolande Nell, BBC News in southern Israel.